sorry this isn't a vlog with my team because our season got cut short. But today I wanted to talk about something more serious that's not talked about a bunch. So Lori Hernandez just posted on Instagram that she experienced abuse growing up from her coach in gymnastics in getting to the Olympics. And it's not uncommon in the sport, and it's kind of just became the culture, and it has been very normalized. And so I wrote a speech for my public speaking class. It was a persuasive speech on why the culture needs to change and how we can do that. And I talked about it a little bit on Instagram, and then I decided to make a YouTube video about it, even though it's very nerve-wracking to talk about. And I also want to say that I was very lucky, and I said this on Instagram, but growing up, I was at one club my entire life, and obviously it's just the culture. It was hard. I dreaded going to practice sometimes. I would cry in the car with my mom when I was younger. I just didn't want to go sometimes. I hated the sport. I wanted to quit at times. But that being said, I was really lucky with my coaches. They were all really supportive. And even in college, I've had a great experience thus far, being a freshman, well, going to be a sophomore. But it's the culture of gymnastics, and it needs to change. Even though I was lucky, so many people haven't been, and the culture has become toxic. And so many girls love the sport. I love the sport, but I've ended up not liking it a lot, and wishing I hadn't done it, when I know it has taught me so many great things, and those things can kind of be pushed aside because of the abusive, toxic culture. And I just think as a whole that needs to change, and if posting this can maybe help anyone, then it's worth it. So without further ado, let's just get right into the speech. 250. That's the number of young women and girls that were abused by Larry Nassar, the United States Gymnastics national team doctor. Since the conviction of Larry Nassar, other competitive gymnastics clubs and coaches in college have been under investigation for emotional, verbal, and physical abuse. The atmosphere in competitive gymnastics has become toxic for the growing minds of young women. I and many of my friends have fallen victim to the toxicity of competitive gymnastics culture. These young women exposed to the toxic culture of competitive gymnastics could be your sisters, your friends and girlfriends, and one day, your daughters. By not letting their daughters do competitive gymnastics, parents will be taking a stand against the toxic environment the United States of America Gymnastics Foundation has created for young girls across the nation. I will first discuss and give more insight into the wrongdoings of the United States of America Gymnastics Foundation, then the negative effects it has on young women, and finally the potential for change if we take a stand against the toxic culture. Let's begin by talking about Larry Nassar and other abuse discovered in gymnastics clubs and coaches around the nation. Larry Nassar got away with abusing over 250 young women and girls because of the actions of people in the gymnastics community. Other coaches have also been accused of abuse, including John Geddard of Twistar Gymnastics and Ki Han of Everest Gymnastics. The problem is that these are just a few names that are the most known, maybe some of the worst cases of abuse in the sport, but they are not the only ones. For each gymnast that makes it to the top in gymnastics, most likely has their own story to tell. The need is for young women and girls to not have to sacrifice their love for a sport because of the toxic culture and negative effects it brings into their life. The normalization of abuse, not knowing any better, and the impact that can have for the rest of their lives is one of the worst effects of this abuse in gymnastics. Creating a low standard for how these girls think they deserve to be treated, and the pain and misery they think they must get to the top. I'm going to read an excerpt from an article published by former competitive gymnast and college gymnast Kristen LaFrance, titled Competitive Gymnastics is Effed. She says, Larry Nassar is so much more than one man who destroyed everything he touched. Larry Nassar is the product of every coach who's ever told a gymnast he didn't want to hear it. Larry Nassar is a result of years and years of physical and verbal abuse being normalized. Larry Nassar is a result of an entire sport working in the dark. People are often taken aback by a lot of my stories from these times. But here's the scary thing. Almost every single gymnast has these stories. Some girls, the lucky ones, get through their careers with little to no hiccups. They don't get injured much, they don't have mental blocks, they're easy to coach, easy to love, and easy to win with. These girls retired with a happy heart. They still love the sport, as they should, but for every one of those, there are 100 of me. 100 girls who feel betrayed and angry. 100 girls who were told to shut their mouths, but nothing will change. Not until every single coach is brought to light for their actions. Not until every single trainer is brought to light for their inactions. Not until every single gymnast can honestly say that they feel safe to speak up. That won't happen until the world puts the sport, not the organization, under the microscope. Creating a positive environment for young girls to grow in the sport they love is important. Not only does this affect young girls while they are in the sport, it can have emotional or physical damage that extends into their life after gymnastics. There are 68,797 girls in the women's program according to the official USA Gymnastics website, 1,684 of which make it to the top level, where most of the abuse occurs. 79 of which are elite gymnasts, the one on the path to represent the United States of America at the Olympics, the one who didn't have a choice to be under the care of Larry Nassar. By now, I'm sure you can see the need to take action to stop this abuse from being normalized, but you might be wondering how we can change the culture of an entire sport. This is how we change the culture of gymnastics. We need to bring awareness to friends and family thinking about putting their daughters in gymnastics. It will cause clubs to fail and not be able to let abusive coaches coach. We need to make sure that you watch how the coaches treat higher level gymnasts at the club before signing them up. If there's any sign of abuse, any kind, big or small, do not let them go. Discuss this caution with your friends and family who are thinking of letting their daughters do competitive gymnastics. First, we need to talk to them about what can happen if there is abuse. Then, observe how coaches treat older gymnasts, and then decide to let your daughter go forward. Let them know it is okay to quit at any point they begin to feel uncomfortable or depressed because of gymnastics. Now, let's look at what could happen if every person is more cautious and selective, even if thinking about entering the sport of gymnastics, and what will happen if you don't. It will benefit every young girl with a love and passion for gymnastics. If everyone raises their standards of how young women and girls deserve to be treated, they will be able to continue doing the sport they love and reach their goals without having to sacrifice their mental, emotional, and physical state. We can minimize the damage brought to so many young women and girls who just wanted to be successful in the sport they are so passionate about. The culture of abuse that has become so normalized throughout the entire nation that has affected most gymnasts who make it to the top levels will continue to thrive if we don't do anything about this problem. The emotional and physical damage of their younger years caused by the sport they so passionately loved is irreversible. Young women and girls will continue to have to make sacrifices they should not have to in order to reach their goals. As you can see, stopping the toxic culture of gymnastics as it is today will help young girls and women across the nation be able to do the sport they love without the irreversible damage it causes. I have discussed with you what has already happened and how damaging it was, how to end the problem of the normalization of this toxic culture, and finally, how it will help young women and girls. What if this was your friend, your sister, your daughter, left damaged because of the actions you did not take? Imagine all that we can do to change the culture of an entire sport. I would like to leave with the ending of the article I previously quoted. This post is angry, as it should be. Sometime I will write about all the good this sport brought to my life, but for now, I want to be angry. Someone should be. I don't regret a single day of being a gymnast. My only regret is not standing up for myself sooner. I love the sport, I still do. I hope to see it change so no one else has to write an article like this. Thank you.
So that was the speech. Thank you all for watching. I also wanted to talk about some of the ways that really helped me at my club when I was struggling, and that I know could work for other gyms too, but again, it's going to be really hard to change. But When I got surgery, I was having a really hard time coming back. I really wanted to quit. It was so hard on me to go into the gym for 4 hours and just sit there and watch all my teammates being able to practice while I was in pain, not getting better, having to just do conditioning for 4 hours. And that's what most of us have to do if you're injured. You still have to go in. But I talked with my coach, and normally people don't do this, but we decided that I could only come in for 2 hours and get all my conditioning done before I left, and shorten my practice while I was still recovering from surgery. And I think that was something that really helped me when I was in so much pain and really depressed from gymnastics. And that was something that I did when I was injured. So and a lot of the culture is obviously really hard when you're not injured because you're practicing. I did 4 hours a day for 5 days a week. A lot of people do more, which is fine, but I'm just saying that, like, when you're doing the sport, it can be hard, especially when your coaches are yelling or whatever it may be. And I just hope this can shed a light to whoever is watching about a sport that I know many people love, but can be very toxic as a whole at times. And I hope that together we can all find a way to change that and make improvements in the sport so we can have people still love it while it being a positive culture and helping young girls. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope that this sheds some light and helps anyone that is growing up in gymnastics.